Hello and welcome to my arty update. I'd just like to wish everyone a really happy new year, and I really hope that you've got some good things planned for the next 12 months. And maybe like me, you've decided to set a few little goals, not necessarily New Year's resolutions, but yeah, just little goals of things you'd like to achieve throughout the year. Now, I have spent a little while putting together a whole planner and lots of lists of things I would like to try. I'm not going to get all of them done in 12 months, but I certainly have picked out a few things that really do mean a lot to me. So I've been drawing for about 2 years now, and a lot of you will know that the neurographic and Zentangle style art has really captured my creativity, my inspiration. It's just captured my soul in a way. I suppose that's the only way to describe it. But in my first year of trying to draw, I tried lots of different art mediums. I tried lots of new crafts, and I've kind of let that slide a little bit. So, taking all of that into consideration, what I've decided to do, my first goal, is to learn a little bit more about colour. Now, a lot of my drawings only have 1 or 2 colours in, and sometimes I add 3 or 4, and then they just start just going to pieces. And yeah, so some of the videos that I've put up in the past are just not pretty colours, not pretty compositions, because as soon as I've put the colour on, I've just felt that the whole design has been ruined. So my main goal for 2026 is to figure out colour wheels and figure out the ratio of colours that you need on a page, because I've always said with the Zentangle style and the neurographic style art that actually getting the right balance of black, white and the colour really can make or break a picture. So I mostly use 1 or 2 colours. Occasionally I bring in a few others and it does work, but I still feel like I need to learn a little bit more about colour palettes. So I will be sharing that with you over the next few months, and I'm going to try to start simple, but yeah, we'll see how that one goes. So my second goal for 2026 is to use my colouring pencils a little bit more and to just see if I can really improve my work. You may have seen some people colouring in their adult colouring books, and they're just amazing, like totally amazing, and I aspire to being able to colour in with my colouring pencils on my drawings in that style. And my third goal for 2026 is to start drawing again in my other sketchbooks. Now, I have various sketchbooks. I have my Inktense sketchbook, I have my regular sketchbook, I have my pencil drawing portrait sketchbook, I have my Inktober sketchbook, and I also have an oil pastel sketchbook. I have not touched these sketchbooks in 12 months or more. Why? Gosh, well, that is a whole nother story in itself as well. Actually, I have drawn 1 or 2 pictures in the Inktober 2024 sketchbook. Now, I took part in Inktober last year. No, not last year. I took part in Inktober in 2024, not last year. So yeah, Inktober 2024, I had this sketchbook and I was trying to draw every day, and I realised for the second time in my art journey in a year that I didn't like art prompts at all. And then I tried messing around with some other pictures, and the only picture I did this year was this one, in which I was practicing drawing a picture for my daughter's wedding invitations. So that was the only other kind of drawing that I did in the whole of 2025. Shocking, I know. So my main goal is to once a month, minimum once a month, to pick up one of these other sketchbooks and do some more drawing. So this one's my oil pastel sketchbook. I very much enjoyed drawing in this one. There's something very simple and simplistic about using oil pastels, and not all my work has been brilliant, but they're a lot of fun to just play with. So I really do want to pick this up again and just have a play with some colour. So what I like about the oil pastels is that they're just quick, they're just colourful, just so colourful and vibrant on this black paper. So yeah, that's that sketchbook. I also have my portrait sketchbook, which I've just been using pencil. They're just sketches, they're not perfect, but what I find with this kind of drawing is it's just so hard to do. It takes a lot of brain power, and some of you will know that I just don't have that brain power sometimes, which is why I default back to my neurographic and Zentangle style drawing. So I would love to learn how to draw a lovely portrait. Some of them I'm quite pleased with in here, and some of them I am really not. But yeah, I will endeavour, like I've said, to pick up one of these sketchbooks at least once a month to just practice a little bit more. I also have my regular sketchbook. Now this is just a small one, and again I haven't touched this since September 2024. And again, some of them aren't particularly great, but some of them are not too bad. I just like to be able to be a little bit more observational in my drawing and my artwork. So that's my regular one. And this Inktense one, well, I don't really like the paper in it, so I'm not going to use this one anymore. I'm just going to use it as a scratch pad for my palette, because the paper's just not very nice. So I've just defaulted to using this as my palette. So that one isn't going to get drawn in, but I would like to finish my Inktober sketchbook with just pen and ink drawings. I'd like to continue working in these 3 sketchbooks as well. My 4th art goal for 2026 is to master the glass painting. So I've really enjoyed the glass painting. I do feel like I've kind of mastered the geometric shapes and the colours and how to put it on the glass. However, there's still a few things that I'd like to do and learn. I'd like to learn how to draw directly onto the glass a pretty painting, like a flower for example. And I have already made a start on practicing with those type of flowers, which I'll show you later on. But yeah, I really do want to master the glass painting and produce something that I'm really, really proud of. And my last goal for 2026 is to learn some new crafts. Now, I haven't fully decided which crafts yet. I thought what I'd do is I would head off to the craft shop and see if there's any kits or anything that inspires me, but I'd really just like to play around with some more crafts as well. So I do have a few things to show you. I've done a few drawings in my sketchbook and a few loose sheets as well. So I'll show you through my sketchbook. This is sketchbook 14, and I have been using my twin markers quite a lot, the Artistry twin markers that I picked up, mostly because it's been convenient. Now I haven't done very many pages in this sketchbook. In fact, for the first 2 weeks of the month I did nothing. So yeah, in the first 2 weeks of the month I only did 1 drawing because the medication they put me on just wrecked me. More on that later at the end though, but I was not good for 2 weeks and I literally just did this one. So yeah, most of the drawings I've been using the marker pens or felt tip pens, and I've been keeping it simple for the most part because I just find sometimes that when you keep things simple you get a slightly more aesthetic pleasing result. Maybe I think about things more, or maybe I don't think about things more. You know, these are just sweeping lines and a few little circles. And then I went back to look at this kind of style that I'd looked at earlier in the sketchbook, and these, they were fine, but they're not really brilliant. I was just trying out different ideas, different ways to put the lines and shapes in together. This one was totally uninspiring. So I went back to look at some woodland scenes, which is what I did at the start of this sketchbook. Well, this one didn't work out very well, but I loved the tree. I loved the way the little lines went up through the tree, and I tried to do them in different colours. I'd like to try this tree using my Inktense pencils or my colouring pencils, because I love that kind of style, but the rest of it kind of didn't work out. I tried another one, which again, it was just too busy. I hadn't got the right balance of black to white to colour, and it's too busy, but I did try out some new types of flowers, which are quite interesting. I quite enjoyed them, and just putting the flowy backgrounds in as well. I like that, but it needs some work. This one I really like. As I was drawing it, I just tried these little squiggly flowers that I'd seen on Pinterest, and I love them. I love them. They're just so simple to do. I also love the colour as well. And yeah, for some reason parts of this work. So for this type of drawing, I tend to hold the pen here when I'm drawing the lines, and you get a much more squiggly result, and I kind of like that because quite a lot of my drawings are quite geometric and precise, and yes, so this kind of style has really captivated me, and you will be seeing more. This one, I took this kind of shape from the middle and tried to put it in some stones to make it look like it was underground, and then I did another one which, yeah, I'm not so keen on this one. I still prefer the first bluey one I did here, but I like the concept, so I will be working on that in the future. And that's as far as I've got. So that's how many pages? Yeah, that's 11 pages in my sketchbook over the whole of the Christmas period. But that's, yeah, pretty much just 2 weeks work really. However, I have been working on some other bits and pieces, and the first things I've been doing is my colouring pages. So this basic design I've put up as a free download, and I just wanted to try it out on different types of paper. So this is just regular printer paper with the felt tip pens and marker pens. Not great colours, and like I said, my art goal for 2026 is to learn how to use good colours. So yeah, not great. So then I tried to decorate it differently, and on this one I used my Inktense pencils and some gel pens. Very different result from that one. The patterns slightly changed, and perhaps I added a little bit more detail. I quite like the colours on this one, but it's not as striking as I'd normally do. Now this one was on watercolour paper. I just printed it out onto watercolour paper, and then this one was done on cartridge paper, and again very different patterns that I drew on, and yeah, I found this to be quite a good exercise actually, just the same picture. So I might do that on a few more drawings. I might just, it makes it easier to work out colour combinations and things, doesn't it? Then, what did I do? Oh yeah, I didn't like this one. Like I said, I really need to learn colour combinations because this is just not working for me. I like the whole concept, I like the idea, but the colours, no. This one was just a straight piece of neurographic art, and what I was trying to do was play around with the marker pens to see if I could get some nice shading techniques. It kind of works, and I didn't have high hopes because they're marker pens, and I thought you'd definitely get some edges that you would definitely see, but overall actually I think for marker pens that's pretty good. So the other thing I've been trying to do is neaten up my past drawings, and this was one that I did earlier in Sketchbook 14, or based on it anyway, and I just used the marker pens and my drawing ink. Quite like that one. And then I did this one, which is based on a drawing, well, it's based on this drawing here actually, and I did this in July, this one in July. I had made a note to see if I could recreate it in a different type of art medium, because I'd done this one in gel pen, and the gel pens don't work over big areas on the watercolour paper. So for this one I used my gouache paint, and I think it's worked out alright. I need to figure out a better way of making these lines a little bit smoother. Maybe I should have just used pen rather than ink for that. Maybe. But the other thing is I desperately need some new brushes, so most of my small brushes have not got nice points on them, so yeah, if I get some better brushes in the sales, that would be fantastic. And this one, you'll have just seen this one as a full process video. I love this blossom, and it's all about me trying to figure out nice compositions for it. So this was based on a drawing that I did earlier in Sketchbook 14. And yeah, you can watch that as a full process video. I'll put the link in the video description if you haven't already. So these pages are just swatching the Artistry twin markers, because I thought I'd put together a little review for you if you're interested. Quite a lot of people just pop in and out to look at certain videos that I do, and sometimes the reviews and the swatching are just useful for people thinking about buying them, so that's why I'm putting that together, and that will go live, I don't know when, but at some point. I know not all of you will have watched my last glass painting video, because some of you are here for the art and some of you are here for the crafts, and that's totally fine. I don't expect anyone to watch every single video that I put out, but I wanted to learn how to paint flowers with simple brush strokes. So I spent a whole day attempting to do so, and the results were not good, to say the least, but from that I did this one, which is very basic, and then I did this one as well. I just did the petals with the brush strokes, and then I came back and Zentangled it up a little bit. There's nothing much to write home about, but you know, I'm showing you what I've done, because let's be quite honest, not everyone will show their disasters, and I think it's really important for people to know that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to make something that looks like you did it when you were 12. That's totally fine. That's all part of the learning process, and if we don't try, we won't improve. These two were slightly different attempts on the same theme. I prefer this one than this one, but I was struggling very much with the leaves at this point. I felt quite happy with the shape of the petals for the flowers, but I still need a lot more practice. So I have several sheets of this day of playing around with flowers that I need to work on a little further. They really don't look like much, do they? But it's all been a very big learning curve for me. So over the coming months I will Zentangle these up or try using some paint on them. But as the day progressed, I did improve with these little flowers. These ones are just me playing around, daubing little buds on the page. And then there was one page that I just went mad with the colour on. I started putting some neurographic lines and circles on. This isn't finished. This is going to go back on my rework pile. And I will work through all of these pages and try and turn them into something like this, just for practice. I think it will be useful for me to pick up my watercolour paints again and just practice with the brush strokes, really. So Christmas, it was lovely to spend time with my family, even though I was completely exhausted on Boxing Day and good for nothing. I mentioned earlier that they put me on some different medication, and I think I mentioned that in my last Arty update as well. I had an awful reaction to it. I'm not going to go into the details, but I had an awful reaction to it, and they took me off it straight away, urgently, and changed my medication again. So now this new medication for me is really working out. It's made me feel much more perkier. I feel a little bit more switched on. I'm still getting tired if I overdo it, but that, that's the trick. You have to learn to pace when you're in my position. When you're dealing with autoimmune conditions or chronic fatigue, you genuinely just have to pace and not overdo it. But there are times, like Christmas Day for example, where you will overdo it and you will be on your feet too long and you will be socialising for too long, and then you spend the next day just resting, doing nothing. That's fine. I've learned how to live with that now. I've learned how to bring all that into my lifestyle mostly. But when you start getting new symptoms, like I was in November, and then they start playing around with medication, that can really just mess with your body. But it looks like this new medication they've put me on is pretty good, and it's made me a little bit more I was gonna say it's made me a little bit more switched on, but then I couldn't find the words to say. Anyway, yeah, I'm doing all right, and I have some goals for the year ahead, and I hope that you've got some goals too. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the year ahead and all the creative things that I might draw and make. I hope that you've got a few goals yourself, and if some of your goals are similar to mine, then I hope that we can learn together. So I think all that's left for me to say now is a very happy new year to you all, and I hope to catch up with you soon.